Okay, so hi, welcome to another session for Selenium WebDriver. Today we're gonna cover the actions class. In our previous sessions, we were finding it difficult to click on one of the element on the Kayak website, right? And there is a reason for that. Generally, by using the the web element methods, we should able to do the operations which are not extraordinary, like click and send keys, right? Those are the kind of operations we generally achieve it by using a normal element methods. Whereas there are some methods or some actions, more interactive actions, we may not able to do it right away directly the way we were doing it, right? Dot click or send keys. For that we have a dedicated class called as actions. Okay, so basically this is a used for complex interactions like drag and drop, double click, and there will be a lot like you click on shift button and try to scroll down, right? Or you do something very differently with the keyboard and mouse actions, those. If you have those kind of requirement, we generally use actions class. So basically it implements a builder pattern. So I don't want to go in deep about what is builder pattern, but in a simple word, you can understand it in this way, that it combines multiple actions together and you can write it in a one single line. Okay. So basically actions class is a collection of individual action that you want to perform. So let's take an example that if you want to perform a mouse click on an element, in this case, what you are trying to do, you're basically looking for two different operations. One is, first of all, you will go moving the mouse pointer to that element, of course, right? And then clicking on that element. Why I'm telling you this is because some web pages will be so interactive or so graphically designed that unless you scroll a mouse or unless you hover a mouse on that element, it may not able to clickable, So that's the reason, by just trying to search that element on a web page, you may not find it. You get my point? Yeah. Unless you move your mouse on that element, it will not be visible or it will not be active or interactable. And that's why you get an error. So for those kind of element, the first action you'll have to do is move your mouse pointer and then you click on it. Okay. Yeah. So these are the individual action mentioned, and each of these individual action we will do using action class. And then the collection of such action class we will be calling using actions class. So again, don't get confused. Basically, actions is different than an action class. Okay. Yeah. Actions is a class, or I would say it implements a builder pattern, but action is a interface. Okay. They both are in the same package called interactions. Yeah. So it's kind of confusing, but in a simple way, you can just remember that whenever you have this interactive operations to be performed, right? You need to use the actions class. Now, how do we actually use it? So there is a simple syntax to be remembered. First, you will have to instantiate the actions class. Okay. To instantiate an actions class, when you create an object, you have to pass a driver to it. Okay. So this is the normal syntax whenever we create an object of a class, right? So here, when you instantiate or create an object of an actions class, you basically pass the driver. Now, once you have this object actions dot whatever method you want to perform, now here you can perform a lot of different methods. A simple is dot click, dot send keys, whereas you will have a lot of move to element or shift keys, scroll here, scroll there. There will be a lot of methods. I'll go some of them. So actions dot method, and then you pass on which, based on what method you are using, you will have to pass the inputs. For example, if you are using a click method, right, then the simple thing you will have to pass is the element on which you want to click. If you are using keystrokes method, there are some keystrokes methods where you will have to actually mention what key you want to press and then what characters you want to send. So like when you keep pressing shift key and type something, right? Yeah. If you have that kind of requirement, then there will be separate method, and based on that method, their parameters will differ. Okay. So just in a simple language, the object dot method, and then you need to mandatory call this dot build dot perform. Now, what is this dot build and dot perform? They are coming from the action interface. which we were talking about. And this is the beauty of builder pattern. You can write everything in one line. So .build.perform, you can just, if you don't want to go in deep, just try to understand that this is something which you are building that action and then performing that action. Okay. So you're first building it and then you're performing. And that's why you always need .build.perform. Okay. So a simple example here, actions, we created an object, passed a driver, and then .click, where to click, whatever element, we will define that web element and then pass that element and then have .build.perform. So it will build that action and perform that action. The next is if you want to send the keys, similarly now here if you see, based on the methods, their parameters are differing, correct? Here, because it's just a click, you just need to pass an element. But whereas when you have send keys, now here in the send keys, first you have to tell, okay, on which element and then what parameter. And then you again build and perform. Okay. So this is little bit complex in terms of how we used to do it in a regular way. But yes, I have a code ready on the same Kayak website for you.
Yeah, which is good since I already went over it.
Yeah. So it
makes,
it works, right?
Yeah.
So here just we are clicking on that element and then we are sending the keys. So this is a simple example of the action. You may have a lot of methods. So what you need to do is, if you want to explore them, just go here. Once you create an object, right? Let's do dot. The moment you do dot, now you'll see a lot of things. So click and hold, right? There is a click and hold, and then there is a click and hold on a specific web element, right? And the context click. Then you have a double click. Then you have drag and drop. Then in drag and drop, you can also define the source and target elements. When you have this file drag and drop sometimes, or when you move something on a page. So you can also define the source web element and the target web element. So you can also do a drag and drop here, or you can also define your X offset and Y offset. There are a lot of methods. I don't want to go in depth, but you can explore them. See this move by offset, move to element, and then there is this if you see this perform the build and the first we build it and then we perform it. Those you mandatory need to just add once you're done with what you need to perform on an element. Okay, so if you need more details, generally I prefer to go to Selenium official documentation. If you go,
yes, I did that.
Yeah, so always go to Selenium dev official documentation and then you go all classes. When you click on all classes, you will see a list of all classes. You no need to go in depth about everything, but if you want to read about actions, just click on actions. And now here you'll see all the methods and their descriptions. So here you will see a big list. Also, you will see some which are deprecated now. So see this deprecated now. They are deprecating some keyboard, whatever. So that way you can also practice. These are the some of the methods I highlighted it. The click web element, click and hold, and basically the variety of clicks within click itself. You can have different varieties. Similarly for this one, the keystrokes, if you want to use along with it. Okay, so with that, I have one more example, which is suggestive dropdown. Okay, so just to save some time, I already written the code. Let me first show you what is suggestive dropdown. I think you would have understood. When you type something, based on what you are typing, you will get an options, right? And those may vary. It may not be all the time same. So bigbasket.com. I was looking for some websites where I can get all the type of examples. Okay. So on this, if you see this drop down, the city, right? Once you click on this drop down, then this, if you see the moment I clicked on that drop down, only this is active now. Everything outside this is not clickable. Basically it is getting fade off, right? Now here you need to click, and then now you see there is a list of lot of cities. The moment you type something, based on what you are typing, it will change the option in a drop down, right? So this is something, sometimes this kind of requirements create a problem, because in a runtime it will work, but when you run it multiple times, if they add some more city which is kind of similar to Bangalore, right, then your code may not work. So this is kind of a suggestive drop down. We'll see an example of this. Pretty straightforward. First, the moment you land on this page, the first thing you will do is either you will click in any of this or you will click on a drop down, right? The good practice is to click on the drop down, because if you see, this is separate element, this is separate element. I'll show you now. Okay, so now if you see that is drop down which highlighted it, right? I'm interested to click on that drop down, but I can also click on this, I can also click on this, or I can also click on this complete line, correct? Because ideally when I do manually, if I try to click on this complete class, then also I'll get that pop-up, correct? But the good practice is to click on that drop down, which is this, right? Now it has a class of arrow marker. Now let's copy this and let me go to the Chrome and we will check bigbasket.com. We will check whether the XPath, whatever we're gonna write, will work or not. So right click to inspect path and Control F and / and if I don't want to give a tag, or I can give a tag. The tag is span, right? Yeah. And then @ I can do class, right? Yeah. Equal to, let's paste this. Okay, 1 of 1. So looks like it's only 1, right? Yeah. So I can copy this. And what is the next thing? Once I click on this, the next thing is I want to detect this drop down, right? So now I want to click on this drop down. So right click, inspect path. Let's see. Okay, so this is where this is the next drop down. Now here also I am saying what is the best practice is to click on the drop down arrow, right? Yeah. That, so let me go back, click on this. Now I'm just, let me try to inspect this. Okay, now you see here it says caret pull right, right? But if you see this, this is, I don't know, it's not looking like it's gonna work, because you know it has a space in it. Generally we do not prefer it, right? So let's try to copy, right click and see what it gives. If I try to give copy XPath, just let me go down. Okay, this doesn't look like we're gonna use it, right? This is coming from the top, which is very fragile, so I don't want to use it. So probably in this case what we need to do is we need to identify any suitable which will help us. So currently I don't think this has any, you know, the caret pull right is not able to give us any, or we can try with CSS. Okay, let's try with CSS. So if I try only this pull right, so how do we write CSS? The tag name, so if you don't give a tag name, right? Or let's say I don't want to give a tag name, or let's give a tag name, then you don't give @ right? Yeah, we don't use, do we use a forward slash? If I want to use regular expression, so I'll give class star, right? And then here what I'll do is, instead of writing complete class name, I'll try just pull right. Let's see if it works, right? Does this look okay? I thought the CSS doesn't have the forward slash. Exactly, that's what I was looking for. Okay, yeah. Or now you see it is highlighting it, right? But it is saying 3, which means there are some more. probably.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So what I can do is a span. Okay, I think this should be fine because this is the first one. There will be some more here and there, but I am looking for the first one, right?
First one,
It
okay.
is highlighting. Second one, I don't know where it is. Third, I don't know. Yeah, the first one, it is highlighting. So this looks correct. Okay, so I'll copy this, and then the next thing is I'll start typing it. Correct? Okay, so I'll just copy, put it here. Now the third XPath. Here, this right click, inspect. So this is the input, and looks like placeholder. Select your city. Yeah, this can work. Probably select your
Yeah.
city, right?
You can do campaigns or something.
Yeah. So let's see. We'll use XPath. That was input, right? Input, and then at the rate placeholder, right? Equal to select your city, right?
Okay, because it has a space in it, I was thinking maybe if you use a contain word.
Yeah, we can use it. Generally, for only for the class, it creates an issue because generally classes are used in CSS, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this should be fine. Or we can use more appropriate ID or anything like. So there are multiple ways, you know. I'm just giving one example. So
Yeah.
let's try to select the input, right? Okay, so this is the next thing. Now I'll start typing the words, right? So I already written some code for you just to give an example. So here the first thing I'm trying to identify using a class name, the first arrow mark, right? This one. Once I click on this, then I'm doing yeah, so if you see here, I am doing it in a different way, but now we can do it in this way as well, correct? So let me comment this because this is another way of identifying and clicking on the city. So here, because now we thought of doing it by CSS, let's say by CSS, CSS selector, and then here I give CSS selector dot click. Missing anything? Okay, one more this.
The forward slash again.
Okay. Right. So this is the XPath, this, and then the next thing I wanna type something which is input. I think I already used this. So input placeholder equal to Siri, and I'm just sending the two words like BA here. The moment I type, now you see there are a lot of options in this drop down, right?
Yeah.
So suggestive is the moment I type BA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 options. I'll be getting it. And I want to capture all of them, and I'll iterate on all of them till I get the Bangalore as the match, and then I'll select that. Okay. So that's what we want to do. So here till this you are fine, right? Clicking on this, then coming here and then sending the keys as BA, right? Now here sometimes you may want to use the thread.sleep. Again, we not gonna use thread.sleep in our upcoming session once we understand the weights. But as of now, just imagine that it's not working because sometimes it takes a time to load all the options, right? So you can have thread.sleep in between. Now this is where you need to understand. So what here we are doing is we are capturing all that particular options in that drop down. So you need to capture that complete grid. Here, if I just right click and do inspect path. Now if I go to its parent, it will highlight the Ahmedabad, right? Now I'll try to go to its parent, see here. Now it is trying to highlight everything, correct? If I try to go to its parent, again it's trying to highlight everything. But what I'm interested here is basically I want everything in that drop down so that I can iterate over it, right? So see this complete form, right? This complete form has all the options inside it. So if I capture, if I get this particular form, I can get the form based on the name also, right? So if I try to get the form, let's see, will that work? Form, and then I'll try @name equal to, yeah. So once I get that form and then iterate over a div and till I go to li, basically this is where you will get all the options. So inside this you will have li, and then in for each option in that drop down you will have that element. Okay, so if I show you quickly how I'm trying to capture it, I'm trying to go till that particular class where the UI select choices row and inner. It basically try to go to that inner anchor element where it shows the inner HTML. So let me highlight this. Let me go here now, get to go here. Now if you see this one, right, this is the last. If I drill down and go till the last, correct, this is the final anchor element. Now this anchor element has an inner text of this Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar, whatever it says, right? Basically this is kind of a detecting the linked text. You remember we have used it, contains method, right? Identifying the linked text. You can also use that, but you can also use this one. So basically I'm trying to get all the anchor element with this particular class, and we will iterate over it. Okay, so here I'm capturing all of them in the list, and then first I'll check how many. So this is not the correct, let me this. So once I capture all of them in a list, what we'll do is we'll basically print how many number of list drop down. So I'll say drop down present at the moment equal to, and then we will use this list. Basically we will try to find out what's the size of it, right? So size will tell us that, oh, okay, now we have 5 options, 3 options, or whatever it is, correct? If whatever we are typing doesn't give any option, so let's say if this particular dot size equal to 0, okay, then that's a problem, right? Then this is, we can just print. Basically we're going to use assertions, we'll learn them later on, but we'll say no eligible, or maybe they stop the delivery to that city, right? Whatever I'm typing,
Yeah.
no eligible city found, correct, if the size is 0. But if else, if its size is greater than 0, right, I want to go till it gives me Bangalore, correct? So here we'll use the for loop. So just because it may give you more than one options in the drop down, right? So in the else part I'm gonna use, so okay, initiate int I equal to 0, right, I less than dot size, right, because I want to iterate till its size, right, and then I will increment every time, right? I initiating I equal to 0, I will less than equal to or less than that particular size, because we are initiating with 0, we are giving less than. If we initiate with 1, then if we start with 1, then it will be less than equal to, something like that, right? And then initiating incrementing with 1 by 1. Now what we need to do, first we'll have to check what is the option in the first drop down, right? Because that sequence may vary. It can be any sequence, correct? So again you will use if. Okay, now this may looks a lot of if else for, but this is how you will code in an actual scripts. Okay, so now here if, why I'm using if, what is the option I want to select. So let's go to Bangalore, right? I want exact this string, right? So I'll copy this string, come here and I'll say, okay, Bangalore dot equal ignore case. I will tell you how to do it in another way. Equal ignore case, and then I will take my list, this dot, I'll get the first index, get, and I'll give I, because I is 0 for the first iteration, right? And then I'll get dot. If you remember the get text we learn, the get text will give the inner HTML, right? Whatever is displayed, that we will try to compare. Now here what will happen is, it will try to check for the first index. In our example, the first index is what? Starting with Ahmedabad, something, right? Which is not true. So here, if it will try to compare, and it will say, oh, it's not compare. So it will not even go inside if, correct? Yeah. So else, what else? If it is not equal, then what I'll do? I'll say continue. You getting my point? So it will go to the for loop, right? For the next iteration. For the next iteration, now assume, now it correctly found Bangalore, because now in this, or see here, there are a lot of things you can do. Dot get text. Sometimes if the Bangalore has a spaces, trailing and starting and ending spaces, then you may also want to use trim. Okay. After you get text, once, don't trim before you get text. Some people do like this.
Oh, they trim it before. Oh.
That, and then you will get an exception, and then you're not able to understand what went wrong. Okay. You have to go in a sequence. First, you will get that first option in the list, because list is, you'll have a lot of elements. So first index, then read the get text of that, and then you can trim it just for the safe side, right? And then you will compare it with Bangalore. If they are same, now what do you want to do? If they are same, so just I'll print on the desired city, right? And let's say clicking on it, correct? Now what you will do, you have to, the ultimate option is to, we want to select that, right? From that drop down, I'll say dot. Now what you will say, again get, because currently you are on the ith element, dot. Now you will do a click. Okay. And now what you will do, will you again go to the next? Now this is where the interview may ask you the questions. There are a couple of things. If I'm interviewing you, what I'll ask you, I'll give you the sample question, or maybe I'll ask you to code this scenario. Once you code in front of me, I will ask you why you have written in line number 32 Bangalore equal ignore case. What if I don't use ignore case? If I just use dot equals, right? If I just use dot equals, is that okay? Then you will say, yeah, I think that's okay, but it may not work for a long, right? If they simply change the Bangalore with small b, then it will fail, which we don't want, because we are checking for the functionality. Exact. We are just checking for the functionality. We are not doing any, usability testing kind of thing here, right? That's the first. Second thing, what if I do it in a other way? For example, I don't want to check Bangalore equal ignore case, but I will first take this trim, then here I'll do equal ignore case. Now this is important. Now here I will use Bangalore. What is the difference between this? Which one is better? No, this see, in a real case, in a valid case, both of those arrangement will work. Okay, either I compare Bangalore with something, or I'm comparing list output with Bangalore, right? In a valid scenario, this will work, but in a negative scenario, let's assume that there is nothing in a drop down, or Bangalore itself is not there in a drop down. What will happen? You may get an exception. In this scenario, if this output is null, right? If this output is null, then comparing null with something is an exception, right?
So you want to make sure in the beginning, go for your target, which is checking the value. If it's there, if it's not, you get out. So you don't.
Exactly. Or you want to avoid situation where you hit an exception, and that's why we are doing this way. Bangalore equal ignore case, this one, because this will not give you an exception, but it will either return false or return true. If, right? So this you wanna make sure. Now I'm missing one more point here, which will unnecessarily execute my code even after I click on it. What do you think? What it is? Because in a list, if the Bangalore is at second position in that drop down, right? Here Bangalore is on the second position in the drop down. But in my code, it will still iterate from 1 to all the options available. If it has 20, it will go to all 20. Do you think?
Yeah.
So once it comes in for loop, the first option it will check. Oh, first option is doesn't match, right? It will come to else, and it will continue. The moment continue means it will go to for loop. The next iteration. Okay, the next iteration. Oh, it found the Bangalore. So it came inside a if condition and it executed line number 33 and 34. It printed on it. It clicked on it. Correct?
Yeah.
Now the for loop will try to, what it will do? It will again go back to the third iteration.
But then once you click on it, I think you will not find that drop down.
Exactly. And what you will get an error, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because now this doesn't exist now.
Yeah.
This element is no more visible now. It's gone. Now what will happen? It will get an exception, right? Let's test this. And I want you to answer this. This is an interesting, suggestive drop-down scenario.
I actually was testing one page, what I was playing on, and I ran into that situation, and I was like, why is it not clearing the checkbox? Because it changed, because I already made an action on it, and if you remember that element never existed. So.
Yep. Now you see, it selected a Bangalore, right? It selected a Bangalore, but let's see if, yes, see, there is an exception, right? Basically, it did what we wanted to do, right? Let's see our console. It says drop down present at the moment 6, whatever the options available in the drop down, right? It printed this correctly. Where was it? Here, right? All size is 6. Then it says found the desired city, where it would have printed it only when it came inside this inside this if, right? Found the desired city, clicking on it. But after you click on it, why it's giving me an exception? See, stale element reference exception.
This is where assertions would be good to use, right?
No, assertion definitely, yeah, that's a different topic. But here there is one very important thing missing to avoid this exception, which is a break keyword. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the break keyword will make sure that it will come out of for loop. No more iterations, right?
Yeah.
So just this small break keyword will change your entire execution flow now, right? So very important to use break and continue at a correct places, right? Otherwise, sometimes, if you only have two options, and if your option is at the second position, you may not see this problem, you may not see this issue. What's happening? It's not clicking.
Did you run it?
Yeah. Drop down present at the moment 6.
Try it again, maybe close. Do you have any other windows open?
Let me close it. Let's close it. But yeah, the first time it worked, only the exception was the scenario. But yeah, this is why I wanted to show you that how do you handle it in this kind of drop downs, right? You may not do all these nested things. Sometimes you just do here like a not situation, and then you don't need the else, and then you will put it outside. It depends how you want to code. Okay, it totally depends on individual style. The only thing I wanted to make sure that is the get text and all this kind of break and continue scenario. Okay, then I think this is what I have as of now for you related to the drop downs.